What's up, everybody? This is Jeremy Womack. You're listening to the Jeremy Womack Show. In with me in the studio, I have the multi-talented Mr. George Carson. He's going to fix his mic there.
Nah, I got it. Shows you I'm multi-talented, right?
You are very multi-talented. Your fingers are going and
I'm all over the place.
knobs are turning. So if you're out there watching me right now on this camera, thank you for tuning in today. If you saw my post on Facebook, it was me saying, hey, I'm going to do my show again, and there's no time like the present to get it done. So here I am. We've wanted to do a lot of different things and have them going before this, but, things didn't necessarily work out.
Mr. Multitasker can only go so fast.
Yes, his brain wasn't functioning, no. But here we are, and I wanted to get things started. I don't really have a show prepared, simply because I wanted to just wing it and get back in the groove, because if any of you watched my show, or actually you didn't watch my show before, because I wasn't on video before, so the plug doesn't matter because they're non-existent anymore, but it was on X Radio, and we just had audio. There was no video, and that's something that's really cool about what George and All Talk and allnewmedia.net are doing, is there's video involved. And although some show hosts might not want to be on camera.
I'm guessing you're one right at this point?
No, I don't know. I don't know what I look like.
You're
on
just
that
not sure
end.
until you see it afterwards.
I will know later what this looks like. I've seen other ones, so I know they're kind of grainy, but
Yeah, you'll be kind of grainy too.
I'll be.
But
kind
you'll
of
be
grainy.
thankful for that later, I'm
I
believing.
will. I'm wearing my cold ass honky shirt.
Can see it perfectly clear.
Perfectly clear. Just that.
Just
but not my
your face is blurred out. It looks like a bad episode of Cops.
That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for. So it's the first time to do it like this, and I really like the direction that things are going, because I see, and George obviously sees this as a new approach. Well, not new per se, but definitely a different way that it's been done as far as this kind of genre of internet radio goes. Other genres are just people putting up their own thing and doing our podcast and things like that, and not necessarily
Live.
being as professional as they're
Right, and live. Like
and
we are.
live is, I think, is important. And I've talked to other radio stations out there, and I said, how important I think it is. And of course, you have to be on the ball. You've got to have your, and we give our announcement earlier, your shit together in order to pull it off. But I think it comes off better for the end user, because they feel more involved in what's going on, because they know it's happening live. And back in the day, I even had chat rooms where people could request songs and things like that. There's not going to be any of that, at least in the near future, because there's no music on this show anymore. This is going to be simply about interviewing people. And today's show will be a lot of me just talking.
Or I can hum a little bit.
You
maybe.
can hum
I can
if
hum.
you want to have a bed to what I'm saying.
Depending on what it is, whether it's inspirational or
That will be depending on the type of hum
just
that you
point
do.
and cue me up.
I will. I'll go and hum. So it'll be more of an interview type show, where I will have a guest here of businesses, or they could be celebrities in town, or showgirl, or model, or photographer.
I'm voting for the showgirl and model.
Yeah, I plan on having some of those here. And the concept being, it'll be like a three-person interview show, and those different segments. So that's what you can look forward to for this show, because I'm really a big proponent on promoting things going on, at least in Vegas. But because I've launched a new business called Travel Livery, many of you that are friends of mine on Facebook have seen it and have liked it and are liking the concept and enjoying the way it's going. It'll be a site that's eventually, hopefully, worldwide. So that will mean that I can interview people from Orlando or LA, Vegas, obviously, since this is the home base, from cities everywhere. So that's the concept of that, is being able to promote businesses in mom and pop mostly, or individuals that are entrepreneurs that really want their business to be successful, and just different travel related things. That's what we're going to do with that. Now, George here,
Hmm.
he is the wizard behind all this. So, George, give us a little bit of your background. Now, you can't see him right now, so he's like this mystery
And they're
man.
very lucky.
They are very lucky. I
Yes.
will say, I agree with you.
I have like a truck ran into me.
Well, especially last week when you were having so many issues. George and I have been friends for
Quite a long time.
oh, 03?
It was about 03.
Okay, so 10, 11 years. And we met originally at a station that's still around that maybe we won't mention. But there it was on AM, and he was board op there,
Yep.
and had a great concept of taking what he was doing out on his own. He had a partner at the time, and they went and did that, and All Talk is what that is, and it's been very successful for them. And the brand has been there for 10, 11 years, and has been doing quite well. So, George, what are your expectations? Because you guys can't see it from where you are, but there's this newfangled thing dead in front of me that
Kind of staring right at you. Huh?
staring right at me, and it's not functioning right now.
Not yet. It's getting there.
I can't wait for it to start functioning. Let me tell you, because I know the possibilities. I know what it's going to be able to do, and it's been really cool to work with George and kind of helping mold this thing into something that's even better than it's already been. So, give the audience a little bit of your background, where you come from, and
Wow.
and where do you see us going with this new direction?
Well, I was born in 1960. I'm kidding.
60?
68. I'm old.
He's
Yeah.
old. He's really old.
I mean, the gray hairs, if you could see the ones that were left in my head.
I thought that you added that in, like Just for Men has an opposite one.
Well, I was trying to actually blend it in with the rest because, the lighter the hair when you're bald makes it look like you've got a little bit more
I've
sometimes.
heard that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying
I don't
to do.
have that issue.
But I do.
Fortunately, I'm wearing a hat right now, but I don't have the hair issue. I get yelled at all the time about that. But 60 something.
68, yeah. I was born in
68.
1968.
Okay.
Actually, back in Pennsylvania,
Uh-huh.
again, from the East Coast. And a lot of people say, which you've never mentioned it yet, but I've got that East Coast accent with some things I do say.
I haven't heard it.
I've never recognized it, but other people do say that from here. So, but actually, when I was a little kid, I've always wanted to do something with radio. I was always playing. My mom used to have those I don't know if you remember them, but they were a huge stereo that was set on the floor. And now it was a big wooden. It was a piece of furniture, pretty much. It wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't just like a hi-fi or whatever they called them back then.
Sure.
This was an actual big piece of furniture, and you would lift the top wood piece up, and there would be a record player in there.
I actually have seen that. It was kind of like a chest of drawer, but
It was-
in the
yeah,
center
yeah.
you lift it up. There's a
Lift up the
turntable.
piece. There's a turntable on the inside. Some of them got pretty fancy with 8-tracks at the time.
Oh.
It was, that was move up to the real
That's
world
because
there.
you could push a button and go directly to a song that you
Oh
like.
yeah, I mean you could jump back and forth. I mean, how
Sure.
convenient was
I know.
that? But we didn't have the 8-track. We had simply just the stereo with
Okay.
the record player. And when I was a little kid, I always listened to like little certain songs that I liked. And I remember my first 45 I actually bought was like 50 cents. And it was an actual 45, the kind of, it was just one song on side A and side B, which a lot of people nowadays don't know what they're saying side B. That's what that meant.
Sides?
Yeah, actually, side of what?
What are you talking about? This is digital. There's
Yeah.
no sides to it.
So back then it was side A, side B. Side B was the crappy song, side A was the good song.
Sure.
So I used to get them, and I would stockpile these things of what I liked, and I would sit and put them on a because it would have a little drop piece that would come down.
Okay.
You could stack like about 10 or so of these little 45s or albums on top of this, and as it would get to the end,
Oh.
it would release, come back, and drop the other one.
I've seen those before.
Yeah, so yeah, kind of weird thinking back on it now, but yeah, that's how it
is
worked.
Weird, but I have seen that in operation. Yeah.
Yeah, so and I used to sit and just play my music over and over and over and listen to all this stuff, and I kind of got bored with the drop down time in between.
Mm-hmm.
And and I was playing the stuff all the time, so my mom and dad would be like, "You gonna knock it off yet?" And so I would start entertaining them in between the drop down time, so give them something to laugh at.
Sure.
So I was getting what I wanted, and entertaining them at the same
Sure.
time.
Sure.
So that's what I started doing. The little things would start dropping down. I'd be like announcing the next song and doing all this. And my mom's like, "You should be a DJ when you grow up." And I'm like, "Well, yeah."
Was
that's
she
what
patting you on the head at the time?
No, she's really short. I was always taller than her when I
Okay.
was born.
So
But
she was hitting you in the kneecap.
yeah, she was like punching me in the kneecap. Like, hey, Sonny, look down here. I want to talk to you. Yeah. So, actually, yeah. So she said, you should be a DJ. I'm like, all right, cool. I thought about this as a kid, but I wasn't much into the entertainment part of it. I mean, I could do it with the family, but whenever I got in front of other people, it was an instant like, okay, I feel stupid, that kind of thing.
Right.
So, so for years I wanted to do that, but never really got to that. I ended up working at building houses. I was a Freemason for a while. Well, not a Freemason, but I did masonry work.
Sure. Not for free.
No, it was free. I charged. And all that, just regular jobs that you would do growing up. I was out doing lumber. I was, but always wanted to do something different. None of those jobs ever worked out for me. I mean, I worked at them for years, but it just wasn't what I wanted to do.
Right.
So, hit around the age of around 20, 21, started hitting some of the bars around the local area.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a couple of friends that actually DJ'd, and they had some stuff. But none of them, I never asked them to do it, but they never really asked me to do it either.
Sure.
It was just, we out dancing, hitting on the girls, drinking the beer, having fun. And I remember one night, excuse me, one of my friends that actually owned the DJ equipment, stuff like that, which we went down quite frequently to, he had to go to the bathroom. So he's like, okay, he had too much to drink the night before, wasn't feeling well, and I'm standing there and just, hey, play this song, hey, play that song. I'm Mr. Request Boy right there.
Sure. So he goes to the bathroom and says, well, you do it.
Yeah,
instead.
He looks at me and he says, look, I really got to go. I'm the only one standing there.
Uh-huh.
He says, look, just do this. And I said, you know how to play a CD player and stuff, So he says, okay. I said, well, where's the mic? He goes, don't touch the microphone. He said, just play this button, this one, slide this up, slide that down. You're ready to go. That's all I need you to do.
Right.
I'm like, all right. So he wanders off, goes to the bathroom.
And you touch the microphone.
No, I didn't. Okay. See, I was a good guy.
Okay.
I did exactly what he told me the first time around.
Sure.
Now, you notice how I said first.
Yes.
So what he did was, what I did was I played it as he requested. Mm-hmm. I did this. Well, he didn't come out of the bathroom yet, so there was nothing else queued up.
Sure.
So I'm like, okay, I'm waiting and waiting, and I'm knowing that this song, because I know the song, I know it's going to be ending within at least a minute or so. So I'm like looking around, going, okay, this guy's still not out of the bathroom. The place was packed. In order for me to get to him and turn around and get back, it would have been dead air.
Sure.
So I looked down, all right, I'll just grab another CD. So I'm looking around, I grabbed another CD, and I popped it in. Mm-hmm. And okay, here we go for the next song. And I thought, you know what? I promised him I wouldn't do it the first time. Didn't say nothing about the second time.
That's right. It's the second time now you can do it.
Now I jumped on the microphone. I don't.
Did he jump on the microphone at all? I mean,
he was very rarely on the mic.
Okay, so he wasn't used to doing that. He said, just don't do that. But anybody else do it that made you think this is appropriate, or you just said, I'm going to get on the mic regardless?
I just wanted to do it. Okay. I figured, I'm sitting here babysitting this thing for him. Hey,
sure.
The first time he asked me, I did what he asked.
Sure.
Second time came out, I don't want to. I'm not a record player.
He should have pinched faster than that.
He should have. See, he shouldn't have been drinking so much the night before. So
it's his fault.
It was his fault.
Yeah.
Nobody to blame but him.
That's right.
So I jumped on, and I forget what I said, but I went kind of wacko crazy, and announced the next song and was having fun, and the lighting system was there, so I'm starting to flick shit off and on, and I'm just having fun with this,
Sure.
Just going crazy.
Sure.
And the girls are just screaming and going nuts. I'm like, wow, I like that response.
That's right.
So this guy still hasn't come out of the bathroom. I think I played CC in the Music Factory or something like that, and and so then I'm like, okay, I got to be able to have something that was going to blend with this next one. I can mix it and match it and blah, blah, blah. So
Sure.
I grabbed another one. I threw it in. I think it was Groove is in the Heart then at that time.
Sure.
So I'm mixing.
Delight.
Yeah, Delight. So I'm mixing these up, and I'm having a blast, and he finally comes back. And what happened is that he heard the first one go around, okay? Mm-hmm. When he heard me jump on for the second one, he thought, wow, this guy sounds kind of good. I'm going to sit back and watch what he does.
So he left you there.
So he left me there.
You don't know why you're still doing it.
I thought he was still in the bathroom.
Sure, and he's just sitting in the back watching you.
Yeah, and he comes up to me after a couple songs I played, and I was like, what the hell took you so long? He goes, you know what? He goes, didn't I tell you not to get on the mic?
Sure.
I was like, yeah. I said, but you didn't come out right away. Sure. He goes, no. He goes, I'll tell you what. He goes, I'd like to hire you. He says, you're really good.
That's cool.
That's how I got the job. My first DJ job, I actually got it because someone told me not to do something that I did.
And do you think that you would have gotten that job had you just listened to what he said?
No, I wouldn't have. If I wouldn't have stepped out above what he told me to do, I mean, I followed the instructions to what I needed to, but there was also that opportunity to take that chance.
Sure.
And so I did. And without taking that chance, I probably would have been, if he would have just heard me playing one song to the next, he may have said, wow, it was a good selection.
Sure.
but when I got in and started DJing with the voice and the stuff I was doing, it excited the girls. They were
Sure.
having a fun time and
Sure.
brought the. So I think, yeah, if I wouldn't have done that,
We wouldn't have been sitting here right
we wouldn't
now.
be sitting here right now. I'd
Yeah.
still be out probably working at a factory somewhere in Pennsylvania,
Laying bricks or something.
laying something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, because that's what I was doing. I worked in another place called Stroman's in the East Coast, which is big. It was a freaking bread factory. All you made was bread. So.
Who wants to do that?
Well, I figured that I kind of wasted my talents making bread, though, coming out and doing this sort of stuff.
You did. You know what? You can open your own bread factory out
That-
here, and
That's what all this is about. I'm trying to get enough
You're
money to
trying to
raise
get
a
back
bread factory.
so you leave Pennsylvania, and
Yeah.
you make it here when?
Actually, it was like 2000.
Okay.
Actually, because I've been on radio. Because the next step for me there is that I had actually, and within doing this at it was just a little club. It was called Geo's at the time.
Mm-hmm. Here in Vegas?
No, and
Okay,
back in
that's
Pennsylvania,
right. Mm-hmm.
and it was a little club. But now they had another place which was called Shadows, which was at Holiday Inn. Was a bit for there. That was like one of the biggest clubs.
Had it been at the Holiday Inn?
Yeah, it was a Holiday Inn, or something like that, I believe.
Sure.
One of those, they called it Shadows. Now inside of this club, they actually built one of the biggest clubs in town, which was huge.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a block away from Geo's.
Okay.
And so I did Geo's for probably about 6 months, and then there was an ad that came up in the local paper stating that they were looking for DJs to DJ, of course, Shadows.
Mm-hmm.
And my aunt seen it, and she'd come down a couple times. She goes, "Oh, you're good. You should go try out for this, and you should do this." And I'm like, "No.
Sure.
I'm working this little bar. I'm fine with
Let
that.
me do my thing.
Yeah,
Look,
just
do you see how excited the girls
yeah.
get?
I got my couple little girls here that dance around. They're happy.
My fans are here. Yeah.
But actually, what I started doing was Geo's actually started getting packed more and more. The more I was doing it, the more people that were just starting to come in. And on
Sure.
Fridays and Saturday nights when I was there, that place would be, swamped. And we were to the limit. We'd have to turn people away at the end.
Wow.
So George was totally happy with that. He owned the place.
Sure.
Made a lot of money. And I didn't get a lot of money.
Yeah, he was like, "Great, I'm glad you're packing it in, but you're not. I'm not
Yeah.
going to give you much for
Yeah,
your
and,
efforts."
and I was young and stupid,
Sure.
and I was paying my dues, and I was like,
Sure.
"Oh wow, $20 for the night, cool."
And some beer.
Beer, yeah, I got free beer all night, of course,
Sure.
all the drinks I wanted.
Sure.
And they didn't have food, so I'd have to buy it somewhere else. But yeah, I was young, and to me, that was an opportunity to do something like that and make the couple dollars I made was awesome.
Right.
So I sat there, and my aunt told me about this ad that was in a paper for a place called Shadows, and she suggested I go do this.
Okay.
And I'm like, I really didn't want to do this, but the day came upon to go out and actually do the interview thing, and these people were actually flying in from London. The people that owned the club actually were in London. It was called London Town Associates.
Okay.
So they flew their jet over here to interview 30 people that were, well, at the time that was there, 30 people.
For a nightclub in the Holiday Inn.
For a nightclub and a Holiday Inn, yes. Okay. And see, what it was is they bought up the whole section. It wasn't in the Holiday Inn, but it was a piece off of.
Okay.
So it was a club that they kind of attached to that for people. It was for them. They had bought them up all over the United States, I guess, and over in London.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the ones they bought up and built for that area.
Okay.
So so the day came. The interview was ready to go. I was, like I am still to this day, all discombobulated, trying to figure out what I was going to do. So at the last minute, I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. So I show up. I have parachute pants on, the MC Hammer like things.
Did you dance like MC Hammer too?
No, they weren't quite exactly the same. They weren't the real bulgy. They were the ones with all the pockets and all the, all that stuff. And I look like a fucking wreck. I'm showing up. Whoops, sorry about that. In case we did disclaim it, just in case.
But you are forewarning.
Yeah,
he's a potty mouth.
I got a potty mouth sometimes. And so I show up at this thing, and I'm looking, and there's at least 20 some people there, and I'm like, okay, what am I doing here, And these people, we're talking guys in suits, that have been DJs, and I've heard them on the radio for years,
right?
And I'm going in, and all right,
you're up against these guys.
Yeah, I'm up. These are the people I'm up against.
Okay.
So I go in and I sit down, and I'm just like looking around. I'm not saying much to anybody. And the one guy sitting there is like, "Hello, my name is Ted Linsky, and I work at WKKFV, and I've been in this 30 years. You really think you've got a chance?" That kind of stuff. I'm like,
he was doing it in his radio voice.
He's doing his radio voice
before the interview.
I think he was just trying to intimidate people.
Sure.
Like, "Oh, look at me,"
Did he puff out his chest like that?
Yeah, because you knew that wasn't his regular voice. He's just doing this.
Sure.
So he's talking to me a little bit, and he's like, "How long you been done?" 6 months, Well, it's a good thing you came down here and wasted your gas, that kind of thing.
He's really trying to intimidate you.
Yeah, and on all the other people, there was a couple people like me that were just, you could see we were just pretty much amateurs still. But the majority of the people there were at least 15 years into it or more.
Okay.
And so now we get up, and they're taking twos at a time up to do this thing. So we all go out into this huge area. And now the equipment they had just put it in was like $280,000 equipment or something. I mean, this thing was totally, if
Nothing
you looked
you'd
at
seen
it,
before.
totally intimidating. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you get up there. I mean, it was like 3 or 4 turntables. It was, and I was just using CDs. Now over at, this had the beat mix box. It had the whole, at the time was totally extravagant.
Right.
And I'm out the other place running 2 CD players.
Right.
Trying to mix and match off a CD.
You push the button, the tray comes out, you put the CD in,
and I'm
push
thinking,
it in.
when's the best time to bring the, not this thing, boy. You can mix and match it, and and so 2 at a time. All these people are going up and hi, blah 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 blah. And you get to pick anything you wanted. They went by your choice of music too.
Right.
So they get up there, and now keep in mind, I wasn't used to run vinyl at this time. I had just been doing popping a CD, cue it up, that's it.
Right.
Now this, you had to back step, and you had to spin it back, get it to the point you wanted, and then launch it off from there.
Okay. So was it a CDJ where at the top it had like a little spinning portion to it?
No, these were no CDs. These were just regular vinyl.
Just vinyl. Okay.
Vinyl, regular vinyl.
No CD player at
No
all.
CD player. Well, they did have 2 CD players, but they wanted you to start off with vinyl.
Got it.
So they wasn't letting any of us cheat.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, I've never done this before. So I'm like, okay. So what I did was I went with 2 standards, C and the Music Factory, because I seen them sitting there,
And Delight.
and Delight. So, and actually started out with, mixed it in with Delight. I jumped up there, and I'm like looking at this going, okay, this has got a fader off to the right, off to the left. It's got a beat mix. It's got I thought, you know what? I'm not going to even touch any of that. I'm just going to do it the way I would have done it over there.
Of course.
So
because that's how you became popular.
That's how I became popular.
It like you do.
Yeah, and I knew how to do it then.
Right.
Because I knew where I could mix it in and where it would sound good.
Sure.
Because I've done it a ton of times.
Sure.
So I started them up normal, left it go, didn't hit any fading in and out, and I get in, I'm talking in between and mix and everything, and let it play, and like, okay, thank you, next.
Right.
You get down, you're sitting over there. We'll get a hold of you later if we want you. Like,
Right.
okay, bye-bye.
You're like, I already got my gig at Geo's.
Yes.
If it doesn't work out,
Yeah.
then whatever.
I get home, and my aunt's like, did you get the job? I was like, I don't think so.
Right.
And I'm going on with all this stuff. Well, it was about a week later, I got a contact call. And they're like, we would like you to come back in again. I'm like, me? You sure you got the right guy? Excuse me. They're like, yep.
You're the guy that mixed CNC Music Factory and Delight, right?
Yeah,
that's me.
That's
Okay.
me, yeah.
We want you.
So I got called back in. Now there was only 5 of us left.
Okay.
And they were looking to hire 2 because they wanted to have 1 for day, 1 for night.
Sure.
And 1 for mixing off. They already had some other DJs, but they mostly wanted us. We were going to be the top entertainer too, I guess.
Sure.
So we get in there. I thought, wow, I'm just happy I made it to the top 5. What the hell? This is probably never going to happen again.
Right.
So we get in there and, we do our thing. And I remember the one guy named Lee. He was kind of like me. He was he was amateurish, but he had like at least 5 years of radio, but he was still kind of like me. He was my level of, just screwing around and doing this sort of thing.
Right, having fun.
Yeah, not the kind that sit down and scour down at you with their deep voice.
The question is, did the guy that talked down to you, was he in that top 5?
Not even close. Nope.
Yes.
Yeah, when we got back there, he was nowhere to be found.
You're like, where's the guy from WKRP?
Should have went to the radio station and said, hello, are you in there?
I thought you were going to get this DJ gig.
Yeah, did you get your call back? I did.
That's fun.
But no, he wasn't there.
Right.
But I remember Lee. And it was so funny because me and him kind of out of 5 of us kind of like pulled off to the side and talked a little bit like, yeah, I'm nervous to be back. I can't believe we're both saying the same stuff.
Right.
So we get called up and we did it. And we were the 2 that got hired.
Wow.
Me and Lee.
Cool.
So, they come back and that time they set us all down to 5. They're like, okay, there's 3 of you that will be going home today. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready. And it's like, and you won't be one of them. I'm like, me?
Again, are you sure you have the right guy?
Yeah, sure. I mean, take a real good look here because
they're like, all you have to do is pay Delight and CNC Music Factory
all
the
night.
time.
That's all I did.
That's it. That's all you have to do, and you got the job.
Nothing more I ever did with those 2, and and I got the long extended version, and the hour.
If anyone's shaking notes out there, this is all you need to do. Just have those 2 songs ready to go.
If you
can make you sweat. And groove is in the heart.
Groove's in the heart after you're sweating.
Blend them, and you get a DJ gig.
So
And you can be Tiesto. Okay.
so I did this,
Uh-huh.
and now I worked at Geo's and Shadows.
Oh, you could do them both.
Yeah,
Wow.
George was okay with it. I'm like, hey, look, I got this, because he knew he was barely paying me nothing.
Sure.
So keeping me on was good enough.
Now, why did you want to stay if you weren't making anything?
Because I'm a loyal person.
Okay, got it.
I believe in sticking where I start. If I get to start with somebody that's really helped me, I believe in sticking with them. And because why would I want to chance it with,
Sure.
once you've found something, tons of people will be happy to jump with you.
Sure.
And they're ready to use you. But if you know someone's set and really true about what they're doing, you kind of stick it out with them,
Sure.
bottom line.
Sure.
So, I stuck it out with George. And obviously there was nights I couldn't work there at Geo's, because I was doing Shadows.
Right.
But I remember one night. Now, keep in mind, I was really young and stupid.
No.
One night, I actually had both of them to work at the same night,
Okay.
and instead of turning one of them down, I took them both. Now at the exact same time. Now, you're probably wondering, how do you do this?
Let's see. I'm trying to figure it out. You had breaks and you ran between both.
It's exactly what I did.
I'm pretty smart.
Because remember, I said in the beginning they were a block away.
That's
so
right. You could run between both.
I'm smart. I'm young. I can just run.
So then, what did you do? Did you have just something playing?
Yeah.
Or just let it play for 20
What I would
minutes?
do is I would yeah, because they were long extended club versions.
Sure.
Some of them 10, 15 minutes long. If some a little less.
Right.
But if you're really quick at it, you can make it back and forth quick enough. And
Like, okay, this one's going to be going for 10 minutes.
right to the other.
Okay, so this one up for 10 minutes.
And it's so funny, yeah, because there was a guy that always came into Geo's. He saw me and he's like, hey, yo, what's up? GJ and this and that. And I'm like, hey, how's it going? And he was bar hopping that night.
Right.
So he seen me at Geo's, and I'm mixing and everything. And then, later on, he walks into Shadows and he looks at the thing and he looks again and he goes, wait, what? Isn't you over? He goes, I'm like, isn't you over the other? I was like, yeah.
Yeah. I'm
He's
just
like,
skilled.
He's like, you one crazy white boy.
And you're like, yeah.
So needless to say, I will never, ever do that again, but I did pull it off.
You have the experience now.
I had the experience that I will never use ever again.
Right. Well,
Because
it's good that you did it at least.
At the end of the night, I literally was just burnt. I was just, but I did do it. 3 hours, I pulled it off, so it worked. But within that time doing that, there was actually a guy that I had met at Geo's, and he come in and he was standing there. He's like, hey, he goes, hey, how long have you been doing this? I'm like, well, not that long, and do this and that. And I said, I work this other place. I said, so, if you see me running out of here, that's why I'm going to do it. I'm talking a little bit, and he goes, hey, I want to give you my card. And he goes, I work at a radio station. I'm like, okay, cool. That's cool. And he goes, I like your voice. He goes, I think you'd be great for radio.
Okay.
I'm like, well, I've never done radio before. He goes,
Right.
it doesn't matter. You can be always taught.
Right. All you have to do is have the voice, and then you can be taught.
You can be taught. The rest of it's, you fill out. Back then, you had to fill out a license, though. You had to actually get a DJ license.
Wow.
But through the FCC.
Okay.
But and I'm thinking not much of it because you have a lot of people coming in. Everybody's tooting their horn because they're in a bar. They're trying to get
Everyone's
laid.
getting-
I'm a producer. I'm a this. I'm a that.
Sure.
So took the card out the door, the other spot.
Sure.
It was about a week later. I had been at Geo's again. Oh no, yeah, Geo's, and he had come back and he says, "Hey, I never got a call from you." And I'm like, yeah, I've been busy.
Yeah.
See, you're not the only one they do this to. I've been doing this since day one.
I thought I was the only one you didn't like talking to.
No, it's everybody. I just,
Very difficult guy to get a hold of. Like, I have that. Answer my question. Oh, sorry. I was dying. I couldn't get back to you.
Yeah, I severed my arm and been sewing it back on.
Sorry. I've been sewing it back on myself. I ran on that thread right when you texted.
Had to go to Walmart.
Return it because it broke.
Yeah. So he's like kind of this and that and the other thing. I'm like, okay, you really want me to do this? Now this place was in Berwick, which from where I was an hour away.
Okay.
And I was like, well, so I'd have to drive an hour to go to work to go to this radio station.
Sure.
And he's like, yeah, this is legit. I'm on the up and up and everything. He says, come down to the radio station. So then one day I said, okay, one weekend I took off everything and I drove down to the radio station.
Mm-hmm.
I went in and looked around and totally legit. They had a radio station. And he brought me in and he's like, hey, he goes, I'm going to put you on the air for like a 5-minute tester, let the big boss hear this and everything. He's going to be listening in and he's going to give us the yes or the no's.
Right.
So they did like a little kind of interview thing and they had me announce a song and blah, 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 live on the air. It was kind of like it's like, okay, this is kind of freaky, but I'm doing this on the air.
Mm-hmm.
So I did do this and so they came back. Yep. Thumbs up. The guy wanted me on the station.
Cool.
So now I had to go ahead and fill out for a license, and which at that time the FCC you actually had to study. You had to know Morse code. You had
What?
to, yeah, the
In
FCC.
case you had to do Morse code over the air?
Oh, actually, they had you learn Morse code. You had to learn certain languages that could be broadcast over ham because you had to know all this stuff, believe it or
Wow.
not.
Wow.
And I mean, you didn't have to know it in depth, but you had to know a certain amount of it.
Sure.
Because at the time, I guess the communists were coming to get us, and
Of course,
we
yeah.
still had that stigma out there that
Because ducking and covering under your desk was going to do a whole lot.
yeah, and you have those people, that I could be playing the music and all of a sudden hear, and that's
Sure.
the White House letting me know that I need to pull out, transform the radio station into a transformer thing and go bomb somebody or something.
Sure.
I don't know what the Morse
Right.
code was for, but you actually had to learn
Had
this.
to learn this stuff.
Yeah, so I went and did all this stuff and got the license. They give you a temporary license, which was for 90 days, and
Okay.
you could go on the air. So the first time in, I'm like, okay. So this was like a vinyl again. They still weren't as CDs either. So I show up, and now I had to spin it and do all this stuff. Just regular spinning though.
Sure.
It wasn't. They showed me how to back cue, and it was real easy.
Right.
So so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay, the guy that was there that was hiring me and everything, and showed me how to do this and everything. He says, okay, good night. And I'm like, wait a minute, who else is here?
Right.
Just me.
Yeah. And you have to close everything.
I had to close everything, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is the first time I've ever been on the air.
Yeah. No one's told me anything. How am I
What?
supposed to do this?
Yeah, and I'm like looking at me. He goes, okay, see you later, and he literally took off.
Even though you told him, I've never done this before.
I've never done this before.
He's like,
He
that's
figured
great.
I caught on enough to, because he showed me
Figure it
about
out.
an hour or two, of training, and
Sure.
I went home. So I'm sitting there, and what's the first thing I do by myself, nervous? I knocked us off the air.
Oh, I was going to
I
say
literally knocked us off the air the first time.
I was going to say that you actually went on now. Getting a phone call.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell that was, but
I was going to say that. Now, did you get to talk on the air too, or was it just spinning?
no, I was actually able to talk and do regular DJing, but the
Okay.
problem is I had never been told what to do. I
Sure.
mean, I was shown, a kind of an idea, and we had albums and albums and albums of stuff, and I didn't really even truly know the format.
Sure.
I just knew a couple songs that he had queued up, and I'm like, okay. They were like 60s, 70s, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of like looking around. The guy leaves me. First thing I try to do is I knocked us off the air.
Mhm.
Very first thing. I hit the wrong button,
Sure.
knocked it down.
How did you realize you were off the air?
Because the lights went dim on the one part of the front. And I thought, okay, what did I do? I got to redo it. So what I did was I just hit the switch again. I just hit the wrong switch is what I
Sure.
did. And knocked off, I guess, the board part of it or something. I don't
Sure.
I was nervous as hell.
Now, did anyone tell you that you had done that? Or
Yeah, I got some calls too.
Yeah.
I mean,
why were we off the air?
the calls came in almost instantly because, it was a smaller town. That's their only radio station, and I'm knocking them off the air.
Right.
Of course, I didn't answer the phones because I'm too busy. Like, okay, I know I did something wrong here. Just leave me alone. I got to figure this. I get it back on the air, and I'm like looking now. Okay, I had a record to play. I'm like, I don't know what to play.
Right.
So I grab Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo. I knew it. It's the only.
Okay.
So I threw this on, and then I saw Casey and the Sunshine Band. But there were this stack of albums were like off from all the other ones. They were sitting by themselves.
Okay.
But they're the ones I liked.
Sure.
So they're the ones I started playing.
Sure.
Well, it was probably about 2 or 3 hours, and I get a call.
Uh-huh.
Answer the phone, figured out how to do that, answer the phone, it's the owner.
Uh-huh.
He goes, may I ask, what exactly are you playing, and why are you not sticking to our format?
Uh-huh.
I'm like, I
No
don't
one's
know
told me
what
the
the
format."
format is.
Your guy that left me here trained me for 2 hours and did not tell me your format, so I'm winging it.
Yeah, so that's what I did. And I found the stuff I knew and was familiar with.
Sure.
He says, well, the box that you were playing from is not to be played. He says, all the other ones on your one side, we figured you would probably, But he looked at me, he says, but you know what? I really, really like what you're doing, so continue doing it.
This was on a phone call, or it came in?
On the phone call,
Okay,
he called
okay.
me off the air and told me that he was enjoying what I was doing.
Good.
Because what they were doing was, believe it or not, what I had been playing, they were playing big band music and stuff. It was
Okay.
totally different.
Right.
And what I had queued up, I wasn't paying attention to what he was playing and having me do. I just thought it was something he grabbed just for a test, to
Sure.
show me how I would do it. So within that little bit of time, I took him from big band and easy listening
To
to
disco
rock and roll.
and rock and roll.
Hoochie-coo.
Was the owner a younger guy? And
He was an older guy.
But
He was enjoying it. Yeah,
Good.
he was enjoying it. So they actually changed the format because of
Look at you.
my mess up.
you're just used to changing the ways things work.
Right.
You're just like, I'm going to do it my way, and Screw everybody else.
Yeah. And now what happened was the guy that hired me in, his name was Russ.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one that went to the format of that. So now he was not happy with me.
Okay.
Because he was the one out selling this, and he changed the format. He was one of the big guys there.
This was in the evening?
Yeah, this was in the evening.
Who wants to listen to big band in the evening?
This is what he did. It was his idea was the format is to keep it big band easy listening because nobody was doing it.
Okay.
And there was a reason nobody was doing it.
Because all the old people are asleep by then.
Right. Yeah. I mean, 3 PM, you're pretty much done. You know. Yeah. At the Geritol, they're out for the night.
They're out, waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right. So what do they? They don't need to hear that.
Right.
So he comes in, and now he is not happy at all because he had to change the format. So needless to say, me and this guy, even though he hired me, was not getting along now.
No.
So
you screwed everything up.
I messed up his world after he hired me. He's probably like, I wish I would never brought this. So the boss and him, after 3 weeks, got into it, and he quit the job.
Okay.
So now I'm still there, and this guy that hired me
is gone.
Is gone. So I worked there probably about a year or so, and I worked. Then I got another DJ thing at another place in Williamsport. So I was doing 3 places there, and still driving the weekends and doing. I was just like separating the time wherever I could. I think it was during the nighttime, during a week that I was driving down to the radio station.
Right.
Weekends, it was a weekend guy. I was doing the DJing at the back in Williamsport. So
now you have radio experience.
Yeah.
You have DJing experience. We got to know how you got to Vegas. And going this route.
How I got to Vegas was my sister actually moved here with a friend, and I was pretty much never really out of the town I was in. It was one of those things where you stayed where you were, and you grew up there, you died there, sort of thing.
Sure.
So
I don't like those towns.
Yeah, that's why I moved out of it. But we come out here to Vegas. Well, she came out here to Vegas, and my one sister followed her along. She came out then, and she moved out here. She's like, "Oh, this is nice out here. It's beautiful. The weather. I mean, obviously opposite from the East Coast.
Sure.
So my younger sister, a year younger than me, was actually having some problems. She had come out here, and she was, out here about 2 years, and she had a boyfriend. Well, this guy moved in and didn't want to move out. He was messing around on her, one of those deals.
Okay.
So my mom's like, well, we got to go out there and help her out. So it's a family trip across the country, to beat down the boyfriend and get him out of the house.
And it started off just as a trip as opposed to a move. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we came out here, drove all the way across the country to get this guy out of the house.
Sure.
So we show up. I'm like, hi, I'm her brother. Get the hell out,
sure.
Before we pound you in the head or whatever.
Sure.
Peacefully, at that point, moves out. No problem. But I'm like, we're already here. We drove 3-4 days to get here.
Sure.
So we spent a couple days here, and I'm like going around like, wow, this is really nice.
Right.
I kind of like it, and obviously, like I said, totally different from the East Coast.
Sure.
So I was like, this is fun.
Right.
So I would like to maybe see about coming out here again and possibly, maybe moving.
Right.
Because anytime you're going somewhere and looking at something brand new, it's the greatest thing on the planet.
Of course.
So it was my kind of thought to do that, but it wasn't a big rush for me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we had done this. We went back, completed what we needed to do here. About a week later, went back to Pennsylvania. And my ex was there with me at the time, and she's like, wow, I really liked it out there, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, it was really nice. I said, okay. I said, you really liked it there? She goes, yeah, okay. I said, from this date, 1 year from now, we will be there.
Wow.
And she's like, you serious? I'm like, yeah. I said, we can sell all this stuff. I had a house. I said, we'll sell everything, pack up all this stuff that we've got, put it in the van, and go.
Right.
So that's what we did.
And that was back when?
2000, I came out here.
Okay.
And, but see, I had a little bit of money in my pocket. I had a trailer back in Pennsylvania, and that's what I sold.
Sure.
And the furniture, everything I had, because I kept certain things that I kept in the van that we could carry across.
Sure.
But obviously, large televisions, things like that, they stayed back, they got sold.
Sure.
So we're driving across country in a van, a couple cars, and I got 2 dogs with me, and they're doing lovey puppy stuff on the way out here, and I'm turning around going, will you guys break it up, Weird trip coming across the country. But get out here and unpack, get the place, go to my sister's house, because I had no place to go yet.
Sure.
None of this was super planned out, like everything I do.
Yeah, that's true.
I admit it. I'm not one of these. I kind of fly by some things, and they just sometimes work out, and other times just crash and burn. But for the most part, I make them work.
Yeah, you don't know if you don't try. So
that's exactly right. Always taking chances.
Sure.
So we get out here, no place to live, living with my sister, and I'm like, okay, I only got so much money. I got to work.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking, what do I know how to do? What would that be?
Well, how did you start at that station? I mean, because the concept of that station is different than
It was
other
an
stations.
accident how I got to that station because actually what I did was I was thinking out here I was thinking like I did back there. I had to be in a DJ club.
Sure.
Because I wasn't thinking a radio station was going to hire me here right away.
Right, right.
So I went down to Studio 54.
Okay.
I applied. I got the job.
At MGM.
MGM, Studio
Wow.
54. Yes, I got the job, believe it or not. But I did not work it.
Why?
When I had taken it, I went down. I can't remember the guy's name. He had dark hair at the time, just a little short guy. He'd just taken it over or something like that.
Okay.
They had it ready to run. And I went in. I applied. I auditioned. Loved me. He's like, okay, I want you here this night. I was like, all right. I didn't have the clothes that you would want to be in a place like that because, I mean, it's a big different step from
Sure.
being in a small town of Pennsylvania to being the DJ of a nightclub in Vegas.
That's true.
So I went out, got the clothes I thought would, being a little hillbilly at the time would look great.
Yeah.
I come in and I'm like, oh, proud. And he's like, yeah, that'll do for now. That kind of thing. And I'm like,
Sure.
okay.
And you were very proud of what you had. And
Well,
you're
yeah,
like,
because for me, that was a huge step up at the time.
Sure.
I mean, you see how I dress now. I'm always of class.
Sure. You're in
I
the
mean,
tux right now.
I know. Always. I'm like Pitbull. I can't
Sure.
help myself. And so yeah.
Always in the suit.
But so I showed up and I did a couple nights.
Right.
But by that time I was in my 30s. I was like maybe mid 30s, somewhere around there. And I saw the club and I knew what I did do at that point when I did DJ without being at the radio station. I knew I couldn't pull it off.
Okay.
I knew that it was too wild for me at the time.
Right.
I thought, I'm going to be back up. I drank a lot then. I stopped drinking when I came out here. And I thought, I'm going to be back into the drinking. I'm going to be back into the partying.
Right.
And out here, probably be a little worse because there's coke going everywhere. Stuff I saw that night. I mean, you would see back there, but here, it was just
in
right
your
there.
face. Yeah, in your face.
Yeah.
That's the thing about Sin City is that, I mean, there's so many vices here. There are other places that they say if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. But
right.
here, I mean, it's so in your face that if you can resist all that, you can
Right.
be quite successful because it's inexpensive to live and all that. But if you can resist people out here, if you don't do those types of things, they look at you like, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah, like you've got a problem.
You're like, "Wait, I thought that was like the normal thing, not to do that." They're like, no, the normal thing is to do that, and you're weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I guess I'm weird.
Yeah, I mean, back in Pennsylvania, they would do these things.
Sure.
But it was hidden off to the
Sure.
sides, Here, I mean, I'm watching girls lollipop all over the place and, snorting and all this stuff. And I'm like, wow.
Right.
And to me, I figured it would be too much to resist. I was never a Coke freak or nothing like that. But I knew the booze I would really get into.
Sure.
And I knew the hot chicks would probably be a little too tempting for me at points.
Sure.
So I backed away. I had a woman, I had a child, and I thought I don't want to get into because it's late into the night.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to do it.
Right.
So I declined.
Okay.
I actually stepped away from it. 3 or 4 days, they gave me a couple dollars for coming in. They're like, "You sure? You ever want a good job?" I'm like, "Yeah, thank you," but no. I walked away from it.
Wow.
So I know a lot of other people were like, "What are you freaking nuts?"
Yeah.
Could have made a lot of money. I could have made, obviously, I probably would have improved my wardrobe
Sure.
as I went. And,
Sure. Contacts and everything.
and everything, yeah. But I walked away from it, and so now I had nothing.
Right.
And there was a guy I had met, and he's like, "Hey," he goes, "you can go do some movie extra work for now." He said, "I know this stuff," and I was like, "Okay." So I went and I filled out to do some movie extras, and actually ended up being 2 parts in 2 big movies.
Okay.
Undisputed, I was
Okay.
in, and Ocean's 13.
Mm-hmm.
Ocean's 13, I got totally cut out of because the 9/11. We actually blew up the buildings before they blew them up, and they
Right.
cut it totally out.
Sure.
So, but Undisputed, I was in
Mhm.
Wesley Snipes and all them,
Sure.
and that still wasn't for me
Right.
because I didn't mind the acting and doing the stuff, but it just wasn't me to do at the time.
Right.
So I kind of got in that for a little bit. I'm like, I still need to do radio. Radio is what I like to do.
Right.
So he said, well, I know this guy that works at this local radio station. He does this little show and this and that. He said, why don't you go put an application in? I was like, all right. So I went down, put an application in, and they hired me.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of like looked around it though. It was something new to me. It was brokerage radio,
Right.
which back there I didn't know what brokerage was.
Well,
You know, we
most
didn't-
people listening don't know what that is either.
Yeah, and we didn't do that back there. It was
Sure.
they hired you on as a DJ. You got on, hey, I'm Baba Booba,
Right.
and that was about it. you know,
Appa booba.
Baba Booba.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So, So, when
if Abba Booba ever comes here, you have to decline him coming on board.
Yeah, because I can't.
We would make too much fun of Abba Booba.
So I went ahead and got the job,
Sure.
did it, learned what it was, and kind of sat back, but it bored the living hell out of me.
Sure.
Because I was not a personality on the air. I
Right.
wasn't doing anything besides running somebody's board.
Right.
And fill in once in a while, the guy that worked there is like, hey, we've got nobody. You want to go ahead and do something? So I
Sure.
started DJing there.
Sure.
The guy goes, wow, you're wasting your talents here. You're a good DJ and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So as in sitting there, there was a guy that came in and did a show. His name was Million.
Mm-hmm.
And he come in to do a show, but he was doing a political show. Well, see,
Right.
I got my little buttons you can push.
No.
Yeah.
You?
When it comes to politics
No.
and conspiracies and things
Sure,
like that.
Sure. Uh-huh.
And he come in and he was just, pushing the Bush buttons at the time. I was
Sure.
kind of a little bit upset with everything that was going on. And he was just deliberately doing it because he watched my face, and he'd
Okay.
watch, and he knew I'd cringe because every time he'd say something, I'd like look away from him, like. And I remember the one time he brought me in a pack of M&Ms. He goes, "Hey, here's your M&Ms." I set him up. I'm not eating these damn things, But I was always nice to him.
Sure.
Set him down, and he said something he knew was really going to irk me, and then he turned around and said, "You know what? You look like you have something to say about that. Why don't you turn your mic on?" I shook my head no. It's like, you don't want me to.
Right.
And he goes, no. Go ahead. And I was like, right on you. Probably, if you would have been listening, you would have heard me say, "No, you don't want me to talk."
Right.
He goes, "Oh no, yes, I do." So I got in and I laid right into it,
Uh-huh.
and he liked it.
Okay.
So he's like, "Hey, And as we did, we started a thing called the Million Show.
Right.
So we were doing it, and I was the total opposite of what he was. He was conservative. I was you're an idiot guy.
Sure.
And so we went with that for a while, and then. One day we were doing this, and he's like, "Wow, the show was taking off like gangbusters. People loved it,
Mm-hmm.
and the job I was doing, they were getting kind of really on me about some stuff. So I was like, well, hey, I said one day we were sitting somewhere, and I said, I got this idea. I was in the shower. I said, and I was thinking because people would come in when I was working their shows, and we would hand up a cassette at the end of the night.
Right.
And they would look at me if nobody had called in, because everybody thinks that you get a ton of calls on radio.
Of course.
Everybody's got this misconception.
You do a show, and can you see how many calls we're getting right now?
Yeah,
You can call in. if
you
wish,
can.
But we don't want you to.
Yeah, and people think that, that they don't realize that there's things called shills out there, that a lot of the stuff is pre-set up.
Sure.
They don't realize that. They
The contest winners are really
mostly set up, most of the part, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to do that in regular radio.
Because really, I mean, I've done quite a few radio shows that no one ever really calls in. It's so rare that anyone does. And so if your whole show is based off that, then you need to do
something to have people call
Bob,
in.
just call in at this time and then ask this question.
And we used to do that at the radio station all the
Yeah,
time. You'd be like, okay, look, I'm going to be giving this away at this time.
Right.
And not that people wouldn't want to call in, but a lot of people were like me. They were like, well, I'm not going to call in because I'm not going to wait through the lines and try to. So, and everybody not waiting for somebody else that nobody was calling in, which they didn't know. You would give up and not get the present or the prize or whatever.
Sure.
But and I was like, they were like, well, what do I do with this?
Right.
And I was like, well, I really don't know. I'm just supposed to hand you this cassette at the end of the night, and they would take it home. And then the one time I was in the shower, I was thinking, well, all these people have these cassettes, and they don't know if they're getting hits, or they don't know this, or they don't know if anybody's listening. I didn't think hits at the time.
Sure.
But I thought, well, what if we build a radio station or a website just based off of every time they're done with their show, they give us the cassette, we upload it to a site, and then anybody around the world can go collect and listen to this.
An archive site, basically.
Archive site, pretty much, yeah.
Yep.
So that's how RTAC originally got its start.
Right.
I had told Million that the one night, and he's like, wow, that's kind of a really good idea.
Right.
And so he had, he's like, well, let me work on this. And the next day he comes to me and goes, hey, go to this, www, blah, 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 blah. And I went to this whole URL thing he had typed up, and I typed it in and looked, and he goes, you think of something like that? I'm like, yeah. I said, then we can hit every radio station around here that does this sort of thing, have them pay. We can have a conjunction of everything in one spot, make money from branching out from all these different places.
Sure.
And all we're doing is simply archiving.
Right.
So we did that, and it was running good. And I had the people at the stations like give me their cassettes. I would do this, charge them $100 a month, $25 a cassette, blah, blah, blah. They put them up, and they would have it.
Right.
Well, I remember walking into work one day at the old place I used to work, and the guy goes, hey, George, come here. And I'm like,
is this
you know who that is?
The one that does all the commercials?
The guy that does the commercials.
Hey, George.
George.
I got something to talk to you about.
Yeah, come here. So I went in the back. He goes, is this You? I'm like, yeah. First he pulls it up. He pulls up the website, which we
Sure.
called it All Talk Radio,
Uh-huh.
because it was about all talking, all the.
Sure.
So, and he goes, "What is this, George?" I said, "That's a website." He goes, "Okay, don't be a smartass."
Right.
He goes, "You're on this website." I said, "Yeah, we built a website to do people's shows."
The house archives, yeah.
He goes, "But there's some of our shows on here, George."
Right.
I said, "Well, they're really not your shows. They paid for their shows."
That's right.
I said, "So we're giving them a place to house them." I said, "And within keeping them happy so they stay here also."
Right.
He's like, "Well, I think it's a good idea, but management's not happy. They want you to take it down." It's like, I'm not
right.
taking it down.
Sure.
And so I quit pretty much.
Sure.
And as in quitting, I was like, with Million, it's like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do now. I don't get a job. We're just relying off of what we've got coming here, which he got half, so I get barely nothing.
Right.
Which is the way it works.
That's usually how it works.
So I said, we started one night. I had my computer at my house. He had his house. And we connected our computers together through the internet and did a show live. And someone heard it.
The internet?
We went through the internet and connected a show live.
Uh-huh.
So we connected live, and some people were listening in on All Talk because we put it up there. They saw the new thing because they were just going, clicking on the archives.
Sure.
And they liked it and asked me that they knew me. They said,
Right.
"Hey, would you be able to do that for me?" I'm like, "Do what?" Do a live show. I'm like, "Well, I don't have anything built."
Right.
I said, "But we could build it." I said, "If we built this, would you come and do a show
Do a
with
show?
us?"
Yeah.
They're like, "Yep." So I started questioning some other people. "Hey, if we did this, would you?" Yep. Down the line. So we built All Talk, and at first we actually had it just connected from his computer to my computer. They would come to my house, go in the bedroom. They would do a quick show,
Uh-huh.
and they would leave. And then, you know what? We had the hell with this. We bought all the equipment. We went together. It took about 2 weeks. Built this whole station.
Yeah.
And from there on out, we've been All Talk Radio.
And from there on out, because we're getting
Close to time.
See this hour. I used to
Flew
do a
right
4-hour
by.
show, and this is a breeze. It's an hour show. But from there, we've gotten to here, and you're watching me on this this video, and it's going through Ustream.
Ustream.
And
We call it tab casting.
tab
It's actually done with a
casting.
tablet.
Yeah, it's done with a tablet. It's a tablet that's shooting me. It's not like some weird little webcam.
Yeah.
But this one will go away, and then this
Big
one,
guy will be coming in, which is
and
HD.
it'll be HD, so I won't look all grainy. So you'll get to
Right.
see exactly what everybody looks like. There's other shows here too besides
Right.
me, and it'll be a great thing. And I'm really looking forward to this one for me working, and I can't stress it enough. But for now, this is going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
And since we're at the close of the show, if you've been here the whole time, I certainly appreciate you hanging out. Lots of people said that you were funny too. Just so you know,
I was now?
You have you have fans out there.
Oh, wow, cool.
So you'll probably have to be on tomorrow. So tomorrow at 1 p.m., same time, same channel. All Talk. The Jeremy Womack Show. Thanks, George, for coming in. He'll
Thank
probably
you.
be here tomorrow too. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Bye.